made a nurse take the lives of innocent newborns. When our favorite nurse at the NICU, Grace, got pregnant after years of trying, we threw her the biggest baby shower you've ever seen. She was having twins and spent months decorating their nursery and reading parenting books, but the twins came too early at 24 weeks, and the first one died within hours of being born. The second twin, Maddie, held on for 3 agonizing months, while Grace spent every moment beside his incubator. I was working the day Maddie finally let go, and Grace held him against her chest while his monitors flatlined. She kept whispering, "No more pain, baby, no more pain," over and over, until we had to gently take him from her arms. 6 weeks later, Grace returned to work, throwing herself into the NICU with a passion none of us had seen before. She picked up every extra shift, especially when the sickest babies needed care. Families loved her. She spent hours talking to worried parents, sharing Maddie's story, helping them process their fear and grief. When the hospital gave her an excellence award, no one questioned it. Grace seemed transformed by her loss, almost superhuman in her empathy. She started a support group for NICU parents, and quickly became a legend among both staff and families. If you'd asked me then, I would have said Grace was healing herself by helping others. She told us, "After what I've been through, I just want to make sure no parent is ever alone in this." But after a few months, small things started to worry me. Grace began dividing babies into categories that didn't match their medical charts. She tracked which babies cried during procedures and which stayed quiet, filling pages of a notebook with obsessive notes. Sometimes she'd point out a baby who was gaining weight and say, "She looks so tired." Sometimes hiding isn't mercy. She'd linger beside certain cribs, staring at sleeping infants with a strange intensity. At first, I chalked it up to her grief, since maybe she saw pieces of Maddie in every baby, but other nurses began whispering too. Amy from night shift mentioned that Grace always seemed to be around right before a baby had a setback. Our head nurse Natalia noticed the same thing and insisted Grace take a 2-week vacation. When she came back, Grace was more intense than ever. She never misses a shift, always volunteering for the hardest cases. The hospital required her to attend grief counseling, but Grace returned saying, "Now I really understand what these babies go through. I know who's suffering, even if the monitors don't show it." Things kept getting worse though. During morning rounds, Grace would argue with doctors that some thriving babies were ready to let go. She comforted parents whose babies were improving as if she knew something terrible was coming. Natalia found Grace's journal one day, filled with long entries about mercy and which babies were ready to transition. We brought it to HR, but they told us unless Grace broke an explicit policy, they couldn't take action. "She's just dedicated," they said. A little too much, maybe. And then the deaths began. Baby Charlie was born at 25 weeks and had been steadily improving until he died from an air embolism during Grace's shift. 2 weeks later, baby Ian died from a medication error. Grace was the primary nurse. Then Ruby died, another unexplained air embolism. Over the next 3 months, 4 more babies died, all under similar circumstances, stable and improving, then suddenly gone, all while Grace was alone with them. The hospital administrators finally recognized the terrifying pattern when someone ran the statistics. 7 infant deaths during Grace's shifts compared to 0 deaths on any other nurse's shifts over the same time period. The hospital administrators installed hidden cameras in the NICU. What they captured still haunts me. Grace was filmed drawing up a syringe and injecting air directly into baby Oliver's central line. She watched the monitors, then lifted him in her arms and hummed a lullaby. I recognized it immediately. It was the same one she used to sing to Maddie. There was no panic, no hesitation, only a calm, almost loving presence as the baby died. When her shift ended, security and police were waiting. Grace didn't resist. When confronted, she only smiled and said, "I helped them." At the station, she calmly listed the names of each baby, explaining in chilling detail how each one was ready and too tired to keep suffering. She even revealed she'd been keeping locks of their hair in a locket alongside Maddie's picture. During the trial, parents testified about the dreams they'd had for their babies, the nurseries waiting at home, the birthdays that would never be celebrated. Medical experts confirmed every one of Grace's victims had been recovering before their deaths. Grace never wavered. "I gave them mercy," she insisted. "I wish someone had done it for Maddie." Afterward, the hospital changed its policies, but it was too late for 7 families. As for those of us who worked with Grace, the guilt is a weight we'll always carry. I'll never shake the feeling that even now, she's just waiting for another chance to show mercy.